Right, welcome to Van Podcast. Today we've got a very special guest, the one and only Ryan Parkin from the world famous Darkside Developments. Welcome, Ryan.
You all right, Dave? Sounds a bit too grand for welcoming me.
You know, you are world famous. It's got to be said.
I've probably been seen on a computer somewhere else in the world. That's about as much as I'll say. But
No doubt people will know you, but for people that don't know you, could you just tell us a bit about how it all began, right at the sort of day one, you know, and how you started off?
So obviously, where we are now, we're a tuning company. We tune loads of different Volkswagen, Audi, Seat, Skoda, BMW Mini, Porsche, because they're all sort of BMW Mini are the same diesel engines, and the VAG group we've got the same engine, so we try and stick to them. We get a lot of people asking for other stuff, but we stay to that. How it all started, that one mainly sort of, I was a plumber like you.
Yeah, not many people know that.
No, I was a plumbing and heating engineer, so 15-year-old, left school, did all that stuff, did 4 years of doing that pretty much, 3.5, 4 years. And came out of my time, got my gas and everything just as, it was Corgi then, and then it's gas safe register now, so in between it changed. And that was 2008 when the recession hit, nobody had any work, everybody had to fend for themselves in the building industry. I think that was probably the worst out of everything. I'd never really earned any proper money doing plumbing, so I never really had a tie to it. Obviously the people I worked with earned some proper money, so they'd have never gone doing anything else, but I was sort of in that. I've always been into cars. I'd always played about with my own cars and done little bits about, not too crazy, I never sort of done big engine swaps and stuff like that, but I'd always done my own brake pads and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and everybody who I worked with in plumbing game always told me to shut up talking about cars, so I always worried whether it just stay as an hobby or not. And 2008 came, got laid off from various jobs just because there was no work there. Well, they said that, maybe I was useless, I'm not too sure. I've not got much money, so my older brother gave me a car and said, you can have it for X amount of money, minus whatever it costs you to fix it. And I think I've run up a bill bigger than the cost of the car to try and fix it. And at that point I realised that not many people knew how to even work on these Volkswagen cars. Well, at 2008 it was a 51 plate of beef, so it was a new car, and still even the dealerships, sort of people who worked at dealerships had talked to me and they didn't have a clue what was happening, and I was playing about with it, couldn't fix it or didn't really know what to do to fix it. And then I realised, well, there's a market for people fixing them. But at the same time, pretty much the same time, I stumbled across TDI Club, an American forum, and those guys were all sort of DIYers because they're in the same boat. In America, a lot of the European cars are very, very expensive to fix. Like the shops that work over there, they'll charge $150, $200 an hour, and if they're not charging that, everything takes them 2 and 3 times as long as what it does to work on a normal car, in their opinions. So even though I don't see what they're talking about, but so they were doing a lot of DIY stuff, so I sort of latched onto a bit of that and got a lot of good help from people on the forums, which the forums are sort of dying a bit now. I think it's a bit of a shame really, because I do think forums are, I'm not a social media guy, obviously I'm on YouTube all the time, but I've not got my own YouTube channel that is just me. I've not got Facebook, I don't go on Instagram, I don't go on any of that stuff personally, I never have. From that I realised there's quite an appetite in America for the TDI parts that we had in abundance really. So my brother used to work at scrapyards and my uncle's got a scrapyard. My uncle didn't really have a lot of stuff in that really worked for me at that point. He gets a lot more of that stuff in now when we don't really need it, but there was a big appetite for that stuff, so I ended up just advertising I could get some little bits and bats of parts, and I think I got one or two of them in end, and I got like 10 people saying they wanted it, so I'm like, oh, there's some money to be made in selling these parts. So started advertising them. I got a good name and a good reputation because I was using DHL for shipping, who at that point could get stuff like I was sending gearbox conversions like one every day to America, and they were getting there next day. So I'd ship them on a Monday and the person would have it on Tuesday.
What?
And yeah, crazy. That when DHL and couriers actually stuck to what they said. So it was costing a lot of money, so I weren't making a lot of money on the parts, but I was getting a good reputation for that. And then just I was meeting lots of people when I was collecting stuff. Like I was talking to a guy like the other day, and he says, I recognise you from somewhere. And then it turned out that I bought a gearbox conversion off him probably 10, 12 years ago. So he's like, I never forget a face, and he were a mechanic on a car that I were paid to drive. So it was a bit of a full circle thing. Yeah, I was selling a lot of stuff, and that was just me on myself at that point, working out at a shed in my dad's back garden, which we've got a picture of that somewhere, probably on a Facebook or one of our pages. Yeah, my dad set that shed on fire then, trying to burn some wood in a burning bin with all my gearbox stuff in. So I had to build a new shed, which were a lot better. And then sort of at that point, the lad, he's called Chris Cookie, he still works for me now. Oh, well, he works for Steph now, he works for my older brother's company, we'll talk about that later. But he originally came to work for me with a joiner by trade, so we've got a plumber and a joiner building a shed to sell car parts from. So we weren't really doing any tuning at this point. We were selling parts to people that were tuning the cars, but none of the parts we were selling were really like anything that we'd fabricated or made or anything like that.
You know, the stuff that you ship to such as America and Canada,
yeah,
are they parts different to what are fitted on their cars that come from the factory over there? They're just like they only got the PD 100s or the 105s, depending how you want to look at it, and the 90 horsepower VE pumps, so like what's in the old caddies, like the Mark II caddies. They only got them engines, and the 5-speed gearboxes, where obviously we got the PD 150s, 130s with the 6 speeds and all that. So we got all the tasty stuff. They got all the V8s, and then we got all the nice diesels. So they cry like mad about not getting all the nice diesels, but they have a V8 in a car that they just take down the field. we got an old 1.6 Sierra if we're lucky, if we wanted to do something like that. You consider it like the OEM plus scene. It weren't really a major tuning scene, but it was OEM plus, like people had put the bigger turbos on from a factory car, so like a PD 150 turbo and a PD 100 or a VE90 that had, or ALH, what they have over there. Yeah. That were like a good upgrade. So there were people getting like 180, 190 horsepower from the 90 horsepower engine. So they were really happy with what they were getting, but obviously the tuning scene in the UK were quite a bit different, which probably a couple of years in from me selling this sort of stuff, maybe not a couple of years, I can't remember exactly, we started getting sort of asked more onto what's the next step, what can you sell me a bigger turbo? And I'd been in cars that had got hybrid turbos on and stuff like that, and I just knew those sort of things weren't the direction I wanted this company to go. Even though I'd not got a company name at that point or a business plan, I never really wanted to get into the just doing what everybody else had already done situation, because then you're never going to be doing anything unique. And I think I did more stuff right than I did wrong at the start, unintentionally, if you get what I mean. It was more just by accident, skipping across, doing things and sort of being in the right place at the right time. And what me and Scott have always said about how we run this business, we make decisions pretty quickly. They might not always turn out to be the right decision, but we make them quickly. So, not like quick maths when you get 2 + 2 and it's 5, but we try and just not beat around the bush too much. You go for your gut instinct, and that's usually right, and that's what we did. And I can remember sort of, because I was in this scene, in the American scene, they were really big on putting the big injectors in the 1.9 ALH engine, because the injectors, like you drop a set of injectors in them, no tuning, and they gain 20 or 30 horsepower if you put the right ones in. So, and I just happened to drop on a guy that had got a load of them for sale, but he didn't realise he got them in a mixed match set, whereas I did, because I looked at the partners, I thought they're not from the same engine. So I ended up taking those from him, putting them into matching sets, getting them tested and selling them. And I can't remember how much it was, but it was probably something like 10 grand. I'd spent like 10, I've not got 10 grand. I had to beg and borrow it from everybody who were around me, you know what I mean? I've got a few quid in my sock drawer from side jobs and stuff. And I begged and borrowed a bit of money. I got 10 grand together and I went and bought all these injectors, and my dad went absolutely potty when he saw how little you got for 10 grand, because my dad's a plasterer by trade, so 10 grand's worth of plaster takes up a bit more room than 10 grand's worth of injectors. He went crazy and he's like, you're going to be stuck with that forever, blah blah blah. And I think in 6 months I'd sold them all, and I think I
I can't remember exactly how much profit margin they were in them, but it was a decent margin by the time I'd done what I'd done. I probably doubled my money or something stupid like that. And that was probably the stepping stone then to like other people saw what we were doing then and saying, oh, do you want to buy this? So I bought a few turbos, and then people were saying, oh, if only you could make a manifold to fit this turbo easily, because everybody was hacking and welding their own stuff together. It weren't an easy. It was good if you liked messing around, but for the layman, like, you're a plumber, you're not a car engineer. You wouldn't want to be trying to make a turbo kit for your car and go to the oil hose company and get a custom oil line made, and then go back when it doesn't fit, and then take it to an exhaust, trailer it to an exhaust place. Yeah, exactly. That's what people do. But so I sort of saw that and I thought, well, I'm not capable of, if it were my daily driver car, I wouldn't be comfortable or capable of making these sort of things fit. So, but I thought some people don't mind having the car off road for 6 months at a time while they play back. And then I just happened to go buy a gearbox conversion off somebody who says, oh, I design manifolds for a living. That's what I do for a company. So then he designed it. It turned out to be a big flop. He designed something that wouldn't fit. So, and he'd admit that. But he put me in touch with the right people that could make the manifolds then, and then being in touch with the guys who made the manifolds, they couldn't keep up with the demand that we had, so we were ordering 10 at a time, and we were probably on like a lead time of 3 months, and it just weren't working. Obviously, this was at the point where when somebody buys a box of parts, they want it next day or within a couple of days. So, yeah. And I'm not one who likes taking money off people, as sort of, we'll let you know when it's ready. We like take money off and put it in a box and send it out to them. So then I met Dan, who's our fabricator now, through James, who were making the manifolds before, and then Dan came to work for us, and we'd still got an agreement that the old guys who were making them, they'd still make the ones that originally made, but anything new we'd make in house then. And that started the fabrication side of things in house, making custom exhausts. And
he was the first welder then.
Yeah, and he's still here now. Can't get rid of him, to be fair. I put as much work on him as I can. He just does it all and says what's next. It's pretty good, really. But we've pretty much, most of the people that are here doing most, like, I won't say most of the work, but the sort of R&D and the sort of pain in the arse stuff, they've been here not from the start as in like day one, but they were the first at doing what they're doing, if you get what I mean, for us. So it's worked out pretty good. But yeah, so then we got onto that, and we probably bought 10 manifolds and sold 10 turbo kits before we'd even really got a company name. And then somebody said to me, I've got a Golf 1.8 turbo, it's 400 horsepower, costing me a fortune, and I'm thinking of going over to the Darkside, so can I get a turbo price from you? And we still weren't even really fitting them on site at that point. We were just selling the parts, and me and Scott were just in my mum's kitchen, just talking about, we need a company name, what should we do? And we saw that and said, oh, we'll call it Darkside. But then you type Darkside in and some very strange Swedish S&M websites come up and stuff like that, and I'm not into leather and balls in my mouth like on Pulp Fiction, so we just say, well, Darkside Developments, it fits in. And like I say, another name that everybody's like, it's a really clever name, and it was just sort of by accident that we come up with, really. And
most things like that do, though, don't they?
Yeah, and I think you've got to stick with them. Like, I think a lot of companies try and reinvent themselves a lot, and I think that don't work. So that was probably 10 years, probably just about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. And then Scott, my twin brother, he'd working in a bank at this point, working at RBS, realised the only way to the top in a place like that's plenty of bum licking, and that's not for him. So we're sort of, I were getting to the point where I needed some help, because I'm not a financial guy whatsoever. I've never done this because I want to make money. I always did it because I enjoyed doing it. I always wanted to be an engineer when I left school, and I realised that plumbing's not engineering. It's unblocking people. Yeah. Unblocking people's bogs and putting new tap washers in weren't really the engineering.
Not very glamorous.
No. What I'm doing is definitely not glamorous either. So I'm not. I wouldn't have said I've gone up, Dave. I've gone sideways. I've took a sideways step. I said to Scott, you can have half of whatever we're making. I weren't making a lot of money. I were doing all right. I were earning a good living. I were earning more money than I probably thought I could. Maybe at 19, 20-year-old, I probably couldn't have earned that money doing plumbing. I were enjoying it. I was driving all over the country, picking parts up and dropping them off, meeting different people, and sort of the networking side of things as interesting as doing the job sometimes. That were at the point Scott came along. I just said, you can have half, but we need to set things up properly. So Scott went straight in, VAT registration, limited company registration, registering names and all this stuff, registering domain names, getting a website set up and doing all that stuff. Part of that then we dropped on and ended up with Danny, did a little bit of graphics design work for us in his spare time between uni, and Danny's the one who films all the videos. He edits most of the videos now. We've got Sarah who's working alongside him, but Danny pretty much runs with that side of things, all the social media and that stuff.
Had you got your unit by then, your first unit?
Yeah, so we got his first unit, though me and Scott and Chris in the shed, and then just before we moved, my older brother Steph got I don't think did he get made redundant? He might have quit. I can't remember. He was driving wagons for a living at that point after working in like car scrapyards and auctions place and stuff, driving forklifts and doing that sort of stuff and playing with cars and buying and selling the odd cars on the side. So he sort of understood the scrap sort of used car side of it a little bit. So we sort of separated that off pretty quickly into SRS Automotive, which is Scott, Ryan, Stefan, or Stefan, Ryan, Scott, however you want to say it. And we kept that separate pretty early on because it's more of a insurance risk more than anything, because the insurance company didn't want to insure a used and a new company separately, which I thought were a bit odd, but anyway, it meant they got twice as much money out of us from start, which were good for them. Yeah. So there were four of us. We moved to the new unit, and then pretty quickly we ended up. Dan came along pretty shortly. Then Danny came along, and I don't want to insult anybody else by getting anybody else in wrong order, really, but we pretty much had that team then, and then Rob came along, who does a lot of the technical stuff. And then it just went mental from there. I think the first unit we got were a 3,000 square foot unit, which my dad said you'll never fill, and then in 2 weeks it was full. So then we ended up, we got another little one that we put the dyno in, and then we ended up overrun with all Steph's stuff, so we got Steph to move out and get his own unit then. So that were another 2,000 square, so no, 2,000, then 2,000 and 1,000, so 3,000, then another 2,000, and then because we were making all the noise in the dyno and upsetting everybody around us,
black smoke and all that.
Yeah, just ruining everybody's lives as far as they were concerned.
People were moving out.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have your unit.
Yeah, basically, landlord sort of said then, and we still talk to him nice. He comes on track days with us and stuff like that. I'll try and get him to feature in one of the videos and take my card him if I can. But he just said, you're evicting everybody, what do you want to do? I said, well, we'll take that unit as well. So we took that one, and we just got busier and busier and busier, and Paul came along, and then we're doing all these crazy projects, a Rose, a 4Motion golf, got all sorts going on at once, and then it was just getting mental. People were just asking, coming from all over the country for us to work on the cars, fix them, build them, and it was getting a little bit much. We had to make sure we were very careful how we chose the job. Just same as what you're doing, I imagine. You've got to say no sometimes, and we realised early on we wanted to stay in this Volkswagen niche. We'd always been into Volkswagens, but it wasn't the only car I'd ever had, but we'd always sort of enjoyed it. Steph had a PD 150 Golf when I was probably like 14 years old or something, so we knew they were good, you know what I mean? We knew they were a decent car. And yeah, it just got busier and busier. I know the first year, if we wouldn't have gone VAT registered, we'd have had to, turnover wise, and then it just got busier and busier, and yeah, we had too much. We've always had too much to do.
I know I first met you, I think it was 2013, when you were in Motherwell. Not Motherwell, Montbreton. I said Motherwell. When you were in Montbreton, I think it were a 59 plate caddy I brought in, and had it remapped. But I remember distinctively one thing that always reminded me was you saying to me, she said, what you do, I'm a plumber. I used to be a plumber. And then I think at that point you had about 4 units.
Yeah.
It was just, I remember sitting in waiting room quite distinctively thinking, holy shit.
Where we are now, obviously, if anybody's watching this, they can go on and have a look. But when the people that, like the new guys that we're taking on now, they come here and they see what we've got now and they see how we operate and things are, I wouldn't say they're more relaxed now, they're more structured now.
Yeah.
The sort of, a lot of people work for me now would have never worked for me down at the old place. They'd have definitely not worked for me dad's back garden with a pit bull trying to rip the leg off every time they went anywhere near it. So yeah, it's a funny one. We worked a lot of hours when we were younger. I know I'm not old now, don't get me wrong, but we used to work a lot of hours putting it in, and for nothing, you know what I mean? Working for people that didn't care if we did the job or not, you know what I mean? We did a lot of stupid stuff that weren't appreciated, but we also did a lot of stuff and did a lot of good stuff that were appreciated. And like you say, you come to us probably about 9 years ago, and we've had people that they came to my dad's back garden and they come now and they're still like, good on you, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people get jealous about what sort of stuff we're doing, a bit of jealous, envious, whatever you want to call it, but I don't let that bother me, and I don't think any of the guys here do. Anybody that works here knows that everybody here has to work for the money, you know what I mean? None of it comes from just turning up, clocking in and being here. You've got to actually be doing something, but there's been a hell of a lot of foundations laid before we could even move to here, and like just silly things like some people it upsets them not being able to come and see the car being worked on, but being at the old place and having people stood under the ramp when you're trying to drop it down and banging them on head and creating a potential risk, insurance risk and stuff like that. We learnt a lot of things working down there. Like a lot of people say, I bet you wish you'd built your own unit first. If we built our own unit first, we'd have and not paid like 4 years of rent in a unit or whatever, 50 grand a year what it worked out at. Yeah, we'd have had a bit more money in the bank maybe, but we'd have built this unit wrong. So
that's your site, isn't it?
Yeah, we own everything that we're on. Yeah, it's a 2-acre site. We bought it as just a piece of land with an horse chewing some grass in the middle of it. I think somebody just put a peg in and left a old shire horse in the middle. That weren't in with deal though. And yeah, we bought it as a piece of land. It pretty much, we self-funded it all as well. We were working stupid hours to earn the money and not spending a penny on anything, and we just slogged away until it were done. I was sort of trying to project manage this build when I'd never built anything properly before, and still trying to run the company when it were down at Monkbretton. So it's not far away, it's probably 3 miles away, but it's impossible to keep an eye on probably 10 people down at one place while you're keeping on top of 5 or 10 people at the building site, burying your money and coming up with all manner of problems that have been overseen by architects, planning, everything. It was an absolute nightmare. But it paid off in the end because we built this for a price that you couldn't build it for if you paid somebody to build it as well. So it's 6 and 2 threes. I enjoyed it. I learnt a lot doing it, and not a lot of companies in our position have owned the land that they're on, have built the unit that they're in, and have not got anybody breathing down the necks every month saying, where's my rent, where's my money.
Well, that's it. And you got, like just talking then, you got all the fundamentals right at the very beginning, and you grafted and you put the time in.
Not losing his heads when we did have a chunk of money come in from a big job, or we had a lot of orders in a week, or we never just went, right, let's go out and buy a brand new car each. Me and Scott's really always kept his feet on the ground in that respect. Scott is definitely flashier than me in that he likes a nicer car. I'm happy to drive whatever, you know what I mean? If customers had let me, I'd just drive their cars home and back. I'm not really bothered. But I think the only thing we've ever bought brand new of any sort of capital expense is a trail that we bought, and it got smashed up before we've even got it anyway, so we're still waiting for that to come. But yeah, we've always kept his feet on the ground in that respect, and I think that's paid dividends, because you can end up, a lot of companies, they get themselves up to the point, especially tuning companies, because it's so easy to just buy everything on finance, but then when you've got a finance, I don't know how much it even cost to set up a company that could do some of what we're doing now, but you might have £5 grand a month in payments to make. It takes a lot to make £5 a month because it's not £5 a month turnover. You know, you can't sell a couple of turbo kits and have £5 profit. You've got to sell probably 10 or 15 turbo kits to make £5. So you've got to be very busy to pay them finances off, and I think that's why earning it when we didn't have the expenditure worked better than having the expenditure and trying to earn it. If you get what I mean, I've never really put a finger on what we did right, but we've not done enough wrong that means we've ended up bust. So I think that's half the battle. And it'd take a lot for us to be in a very, very bad situation at the minute, because our biggest expense is staff. If you know, we've got probably 28 people working here now, something like that. It's like too many, and we've got stuff going on all over the place all the time. So our biggest expense is, if we're busy, we've got a lot of staff. If we're not busy, we don't need a lot of staff. And obviously, we've never had to make anybody redundant because there's no work there. But should that time ever come, it's not going to be a case of all the cards are going to fall in on us. It's just going to be.
I tell you one thing that did really sort of stand out last year, obviously going into the first lockdown, which was, I mean, these lockdowns, in my opinion, aren't lockdowns because the roads are a little bit quieter, but they're not dead.
Just on a Monday morning, it's not as mental as it used to be.
Yeah, I remember distinctively that even when everything got shut down, and I remember going out during the day, there were like no cars on the road. It were dead. There were no happening. And I remember seeing a post off you guys saying that due to commitment that your staff give you, that you were keeping everybody on full pay.
Yeah. And to be fair, we gave everybody the option, just stay at home, you'll get 100% pay, you know what I mean? Nobody knew what this pandemic, whatever you want to call it, we're going to turn into financially and health-wise at that point, so in March time, you know what I mean? If you listen to news, we all needed to lay down and put his hands over his heads and wait for all his rules to curve in on us. And we just said to everybody, stay at home, you get 100% pay, you know what I mean? And even we had a few guys who'd come working for us in that short amount of time that they wouldn't have got any furlough payment whatsoever. So we sort of were being fair to everybody in that respect. And pretty much nearly everybody just said, I'm not sitting at home doing nothing, I'll come to work. If we're allowed to come to work, are we allowed to come to work? I'm like, well, we're an essential business as far as we did have a lot of people, especially when this first kicked off. Like, we got a company in Kenya that supplied all the Kenyan ambulances, wanted to stock up on a load of stuff, and companies over here like that do a lot of work on the police and ambulance and fire engine, that sort of stuff. They just wanted all sorts of random stuff. So we did have sort of a justification to have stayed open. I think that's sort of waning it for every company, you know what I mean? Not everybody that's working at the minute should, everything they're doing is necessity. But I think at that point, we could have easily been crippled by the fact that if everybody worked for us, well, like a lot of people still are, happy to sit at home doing absolutely nothing and getting paid for it, not realising that what they're doing is not directly, but definitely indirectly causing everything to collapse around them. You know what I mean? If you're still on furlough now, your company's not ever going to start back working anywhere near where it was for any length of time now. It's just not going to happen, is it? So.
No, I think when we were talking a few days ago, it's you know, we've just got to keep ploughing on.
We've been busier than ever, you know, we've done double what we'd normally do, and we never expect anything to last. I can remember 10 years ago saying, when my mum and dad were saying, you can't have your brother working you can't have both your brothers working with you, you know what I mean? We can't all be working together, what if this, what if that? And I'm like, well, nothing lasts forever. And here we are still earning money and enjoying ourselves. So really, all we need to be doing is looking inwardly and enjoy your lives with your family and don't cause anybody else any anguish.
I couldn't have said it better myself, that. Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. Did you just want to sort of cover different aspects of business? I know we've talked a lot about you know what you do, but just
so obviously, if you come into reception, it probably doesn't show you what we can actually do or what we do actually do, and maybe if you want some of the stuff that we do a lot of, we don't even advertise to do, but we've got we do a lot of research and development into new products and stuff like that. Some of it comes from, can you make me this? Yes, we can, and we just make it. Some of it comes from, we're having a lot of people complaining about X, Y, Z with the cars, and we think we can do something better, so then that's a business case, and we make it. So we do literally everything from repairing cars that are broken, they come back on a truck, nobody can figure out what's wrong with them, they've been to every garage under the sun, and 10 minutes later we fix them, all the way to servicing, general repairs, keeping old dears cars on road, to keeping young daft lads who crash all times cars on road, fabrication, obviously the tuning aspect. We've got a dyno where we do all the dyno tuning. We've got 3 tuners working full time all the time. We've got fabrication department, which there's 4 people working in fabrication department all the time. They can't keep up what we need to make at the minute either. The fabrication, we do like custom exhausts, which we try and stick to what we know with that, but we do the odd random obscure thing if we can, and we do the odd bits of jig work for other companies, which I'd like to do probably a bit more of that sort of stuff if we could. If we can get a standard car in, do everything on it, jig it all, turn it into products that we can sell to other people, do the tuning that then we can send out in a little box that we post out to people, and do custom tuning remotely and stuff like that. So we're pretty much a one-stop shop for that. And then pretty recently we've ended up with the body shop. We set that up, put quite a bit of money into that, and there's been a few stumbling blocks along the way. The original business partner that we went in with, he's not here now, but we're pressing forward with that, and we're pretty busy with that. We're booked up for a few weeks with that at any one point, but we try not to get too far ahead of ourselves with that as well, because you know what body shops are like. You drop them off and they'll let you know when it's done in 6 months' time, and we don't want that. We're having people drop stuff off on a Monday and it's ready on a Wednesday. That's the turnaround we're looking for. The body shop side is very difficult to make money from, because the discovery process is quite difficult, and obviously a lot of the bodywork's hidden away. Like they've got a repainting at the minute, which full repaint, it's going to be X amount of pounds, no problem. Then you start chipping away at it, and there's an inch of filler in backwater. You can't do it on a fixed price, but you're also, a lot of people, if they're spending 5, 6, 7 grand on a repaint, they probably ain't got another grand sat there just waiting to get that repair. But you're at that point then where you've made the car worse, and you don't want to do the job then, because you're like, if I don't do it properly, and we don't want to do anything like we're not doing restorations on old rusty nails. We're wanting to do decent repairs on decent cars and full paints on decent cars, not welding old rusty Type 1 campers together. We don't mind painting them when they've been restored, but we don't want to be getting that sort of working, because it's there forever. And within it, the units that we've built, an high spec unit, which means per square foot they're not cheap to rent. So we can't have 10 cars dead and just rubbing them down every now and again. Each square foot of space costs a lot of money to be there. So we wanted to have that quick turnaround, but the work and the quality be like top notch. Like Alan, who does the painting, he used to work for Ferrari painting Formula 1 cars. He worked for McLaren painting Formula 1 cars. He's really, really good at what he does, and he's too anal. So he's no good from my point of view, because I can't turn what he's doing into money. But he's, like I said about everything, we never let the money side of things be the main drive. We obviously never want to make a loss just because we can't be bothered to do the discovery process, or because we can't be bothered to have the awkward conversation where you're like, I know we said X, but it's going to have to be this, otherwise you can pick it up and take it away. But we also want people to be happy and to be doing the. We want them to be happy with the job that we're doing. So it's going to get there eventually. I think we've got 2 people working the paint shop. We probably need 3 to make that into because a lot of the costs stay the same no matter how many people you've got. We're only adding an extra salary in there. But we'll see where that goes, because it's hard to be so far ahead with the painting, because you can't predict how long something's going to take either. Whereas with what we're doing now with the tuning side of things, we've got the odd job that we can't get rid of because we're doing something else more important, or there's always something stopping that job getting finished. But we can pretty much say, if you're dropping your car off on Monday, it'll be ready to pick up on Friday. But the body shop generally ends up with a little bit of extra with the big jobs anyway. Like we said, as long as it makes a good living for a couple of 3 people, and we've got, we can just say, I crashed a car at weekend, it needs to be ready for next weekend. Can the race cars or the track cars or whatever, can we get it repaired, and can we get it looking smart for some advertising for a company next week, yeah, it can happen. Whereas that ain't going to happen if we're subbing it out to another company.
Things take time, don't they? You know, it ain't going to just happen overnight.
Yeah, no, and I'm not worried. Like we've said to Alan, who's running it now, it doesn't matter if it's 18 months before we start turning an on-paper profit. We're not worried about that. But what we don't want you to be doing is just be doing loads of jobs for free because you think we need to get established. But I think pretty much the reputation we've got for doing a good job on time at a good price, I hope that's the reputation we've got anyway. See, that's what in my head I think we've got. I hope that has been established straight away with the body shop. It's not a new company as such, it's just a new venture for an existing company that can do what we're doing. So I think it worked out all right. I think when we were first setting it up, we got loads of ideas what the name were going to be, but it turns out that really Darkside were the right choice in the end.
No, it seems to be. I mean, I know they're doing quite a lot of videos and stuff out on social media as well. So it's
yeah, they probably could do more. They're just that busy from one job to the next. It goes from they're still warm when they're pushing them out for the customer to pick them up from oven. You know what I mean? They're shoving another one straight in. It's pretty busy, which I'm glad. I'm glad because the worst part of having staff is when you've not got any work and keeping them busy. I think we're in a privileged position really where. I won't say privilege really, in a good position where we've got loads of old crap cars that we own as well, so when somebody's not busy we can just make that better. We spent a lot more money on setting the body shop up than we'd have dared to have spent setting our business up.
You're in a different place within development to that business, aren't you? You know, Darkside is, you know, established in its own right. Yes. So to be able to do something else, you can do it in such a way that you think, like we said, I don't want to do it that way. I want to make sure if we're going to do it, we're going to do it, you know, X, Y, and Z, you know, and you've got fundamentals right as well.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of jobs where they're booking in here for a custom exhaust, but to do that custom exhaust, they want a custom bumper making. So we're putting a bumper on, painting it, making an exhaust, tuning it, do it. So it's all fitting in and tying in nicely. So it's working good. It's a nice little bolt on. It fits hand in hand with what we're doing.
I'll tell you one of the biggest things that interests me is product development. It's one of them things that I think people look at and they probably don't realise how much development goes into the products. I know at the minute we'll touch on Amaroks in a bit, but just how much work goes into product development.
It's easy to do one-offs. If you want to do things as a one-off and you know nobody else can buy it because it's that hard to make, then it might be a bit more time consuming, or probably less sometimes, just throwing things together. And that's where we realised very early on, like I said, when we did the first turbo kits, everything needed to be modular. Volkswagen didn't build, every car ain't got a different stud pattern on wheels, you know what I mean? Everything's built in a certain way so that it's easy to swap and change and rejig things. And that's how I originally started out doing things like the oil feed lines, the braided oil feed lines that we do, which everybody tries copying them and trying to save £5 on our cost and trying to get them from somewhere else, which by the time we don't make a lot of money on them. People must think we triple money on them, but that original design for the oil feed, I designed that to fit on the standard turbos when I was designing the first manifold on the 8-valve engine, which then it fit the 2-litre engine. And that same design and the same jig that we used is the same one you use today, and it fits also. It's not one size fits all, but I think we've sold probably 10,000 of them. You know, we've sold absolutely tons. We're getting like 100 a month for months at a time. You know, we sell tons of them. And that's just one thing that took, it's a little oil feed line, you know what I mean? It should be 10 minutes, like just put one in there, and away you go. And we had to actually make each end because originally you can't buy them ends that can be bent and manipulated in that way, but we had them made. And everything I know I'm doing something, I won't say good, but I'm doing something different when I just ask for a bolt and you can't get that bolt. I ask for a seal and that seal's not an off-the-shelf seal, you know. You're doing things that are unique when you can't get the simple parts. So it does take a long time to do things properly and think about them. And that's before you've even started making them. You know what I mean? You've got to think, right, if I'm making this downpipe, what other cars can I make this fit without boxing this end into a corner and it being a different one for every model, every year brake, every whatever. So we do spend a lot of time with that, which is what boils me brain a little bit when people buy it, copy it, and knock it out there and say, I can sell it for half price and I'm making a load of money. And when you're selling crap and you've not had to do any of the work, that you can sell it cheap. And don't get me wrong, there's some products that we sell that maybe are not our own initial conception. You know what I mean? People have done them, but we generally only make something that somebody else makes if getting the part from somebody else is either impossible or they're making it difficult or they're not giving you the discount that you deserve for the orders you're making. Like we've made a lot of product. We've bought tens of thousands of pounds of products off people, and then we find out that somebody else is getting a cheaper price who are buying them one at a time. And when you question it, you just get told, well, you're making money, and you're like, bit naughty, you know what I mean? I'm not wanting to stop anybody else making a living. Like we've got a lot of companies working around us that, like our machine shops, there's 2 machine shops that do a lot of work for us. Like we've even got our own machines in their shops, and they run our machines to make some of our products. But probably for them, they've said it there. This is their words. That probably 80% of their work, and they might be employing. Some of them are employing like 10 people. 80% of their work's our work, and so we've got 20 odd people working for us. But there might be another 20 or 30 people out there that are working off the back of what we're doing. So we've got a lot of people's interests and mortgages and lifestyles to keep going from doing what we're doing. So profit should never be a dirty word in business, you know what I mean? And I'm not bothered if somebody's making profit off us if we're making profit. Like we have a conversation, like our machine shop will say, oh, I want to make you this part and it's 10 quid, and I'm like, I can only sell them for 10 quid. So then we have to look at how can we make them cheaper, how can we make them easier, do we need to subcontract this out, do we need to change what material, are we over specking something, and it's a conversation. Whereas sometimes you can make 2 parts that are identical amount of work, identical amount of designing, identical amount of machining, packing, posting, whatever, and they're worth 5 times as much. One can be worth 5 times as much just because it's an RS5 part, you know what I mean, or something stupid. We've chose a market that sort of the price can't be astronomical, but there's a lot more goes into doing some of the stuff that we do. Like a turbo kit we sell for £2,000, the turbo's probably more than a third of that, our cost. Do you know what I mean? And then like a petrol turbo kit might be £4,000 and the turbo's not even a tenth of that. You know what I mean? It's crazy really. We get a lot of people complaining and a lot of people saying that you could do things cheaper, and yeah, we could, but we've got some of the established stuff that we've sold hundreds of, we've probably got the R&D money back. But some of the stuff we do, oh, there's a big market. We get customers saying, oh, I can sell you 10 of these if you get them, and you make one and they don't even buy one. You know, and you're like, I've put all the same work into that kit as I have 2 other ones and not sold any now. And
we'll talk about this other day. That's why people just, I think, need to understand that for businesses to survive, people don't like to talk about making money and profit, but for businesses to survive and thrive, and for companies like yourself to do the product development and keep evolving and keep moving with the times, it's just part of being in business, and you do get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly. And I think nobody ever goes to work for free, so why should a company work for no profit? You know what I mean? We're not charities, and I think there's a certain tipping point where people are getting their legs lifted. Do you know what I mean? But you can have your leg lifted for £5, never mind 500 quid. You know what I mean? It's obviously, it can go up in the order of magnitude how annoyed you can be at being ripped off. But we wouldn't sell anything if it were too expensive. We're in the market. We don't sell to people that are desperate and have got their backs against a wall. We ain't got the arms up the back saying, right, madam, we've got your car in and it's 10 grand worth of work and we can't give it you back until you've spent 10 grand. People are willingly paying us to work on the cars. And we all have problems that, like, you had a boost pipe pop off your car, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Stuff like that happens. I
was ringing Robert going, it's making a funny whistling noise here. Yeah. He went, just come straight here. And that's what I mean. I came straight in and boom, sorted it.
You tried to use it plunger and that didn't work, so you had to bring it down here. But it's one of them things. I enjoy being busy doing something that people are happy to pay for, And there's a lot of people, like we get all screenshots on company WhatsApp group or all these silly people talking rubbish on internet like, can I buy this without Darkside tax? And then 6 months later you see their car up for sale, engine's blown, who wants to buy it before I scrap it?
Tell you what, I think it's a compliment somebody got talking about it like that, Darkside tax.
Well, when there started being loads of Chinese copies of our stuff, your imitation is the best form of flattery, they said, don't they? So you've made it when China are spending time making your stuff.
The thing is about it, they're saying Darkside anyway. It's free publicity in it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't worry too much.
I know you wouldn't.
I try not to let anything bother me too much, but I never want anybody to be unhappy, you know what I mean? We've had a few people that I'm like, we've upset them. You know what I mean? We've upset them and there's no need to upset them. Let's make it right. And if people are willing to work with us, then yeah, we'll make it right. But we've had a lot of people that they had no intention of being happy in the first place. So, you know what I mean? Even if everything went to plan, they still weren't happy. So I'm happy to tell them to piss off. I don't mind telling them because I think the customer is always right, except when they're wrong. And it's, you know, if the customer gets what they want, but if they're wanting something that's impossible or unreasonable, you should be allowed to say no.
We're in different sector to yours, you know, and we're exactly the same. You know, we won't suffer fools. That is, you get what you see, and like you, we're in a market where we think, we know we do a really good job. We've got a good reputation, like you, and we don't charge the most, but we're not the cheapest either. But you know, it's built on them fundamentals, you know, that are the foundations of your business that keep you where you need to be and pay your bills. And
imagine you could go to a job and you think, somebody's told me this person's got loads of money and they'll pay any price you tell them, but job's crap. If you don't want to do a job, there's no point doing it, is there? You know, it doesn't matter how much money you're going to make. If job's crap, and that's
it is, mate. It is.
The problem we've got is it's the same in every game. You until you start working on the car or doing the job, you don't realise that it's a crap job. But sometimes you've got to know when to quit as well and just say, I know you wanted X, Y, Z, but I'm going to put it back together and not charge you anything and give it you back. So we've done that a few times, and then we've ended up with a 0-star, if it were possible, Google review and slating us all over the internet saying you've done X, Y, Z. But I'm pretty sure that nobody has been out of pocket coming here that would have been willing to work with us. If
that's the difference. It's mindset, isn't it?
Yeah. We've never been the ruthless business that'll trample on anybody to do it. Like we've had a lot of competition, a lot of people that we could have easily just quashed it. You know what I mean? People that have worked for us that have signed non-compete agreements and they've gone away and set up their own companies and stuff like that we could have easily ended up with some money out of them. You know, if we really wanted to push it, we could have ended up with some loss of earnings and stuff like that. But we thought, well, let them just evolve into what they're doing and they'll realise that what they thought makes money don't make money, and what they think's easy is not actually easy, and let them do it. And I think everybody's entitled to earn the crust, and if somebody thinks they can do something better than us, crack on, do it. We might work with you rather than working against you.
Exactly.
Know what I mean?
Like you, I'm an advocate for anybody doing well. Don't matter what sector they're in, whether they're doing the same as me, they're doing well. Do you know something? I'll comment on someone's, that bathroom looks nice.
Yeah.
You know, and people will go, why are you commenting on him? You do the same as him. I said, yeah, but he's doing it good. Why not?
Yeah, he ain't trying to get it. You're not both trying to get it same bathroom door on a morning, are you? You know what I mean? It don't work like that. It's a funny one because everybody in this business and in this industry, like if we're talking about the car industry or everybody in business in general, they're all having the same problems. You know what I mean? You lose the will to live sometimes, and then other times you can't be happier. So it's one of them. There's plenty of work for everybody, but you should never try and get higher up by knocking somebody else down.
Exactly. If you're good at what you do, shout about it, you know, promote that rather than slagging someone else off.
Yeah, all this calling people out and we're better than them and don't go to them, go to us, and we'll do like, it's like, well, why don't we all talk to each other, and maybe you might be better at doing a little bit of something that we're doing, or you're willing to do that because that's your speciality and we're willing to do this, and rather than you trying to set up your own fabrication department and me, I'm just exactly. Which we've got a lot of companies that work with us, but like we've never really pushed for the franchise side of things. And I think had I started in business with if I started this now, I'd start it out with the intention of being a franchise, I think, because there's a lot of people that would have been able to just log into our systems here and turn that in and capitalise on that to their advantage and to our advantage. But we've ended up, because things have grown out organically by accident and doing what they're doing, we've ended up sort of, we're the central hub, and I don't think it's possible to do that anymore. Do you know, we'd have too many conflicts where people wouldn't want to go to. We get a lot of people like there's a lot of little places in the world that there's certain companies won't deal with certain people because they've already had the competition. If you get what I mean, there'd be a lot of people that want to be our dealers, but they've already pushed things too far that they'd probably think we wouldn't want it or they wouldn't want it. So it's a funny one.
That leads on to sort of the stuff that you ship all over the world.
Yeah, we're doing at the minute we're probably doing probably near 600 orders every week, and
wow.
I think that we had a look before we come on just to be sure, but I think there weren't a day last week that we did less than 70, and that's at the weekend as well, every day, just all the way through.
Obviously, you've got a mixture of customers and dealers as well.
Yeah, you've got a lot of dealers. I can't remember exactly now because we've got a lot of people that claim to be dealers and they just want to get the quick discount and then they disappear off face of earth. But we do have like a periodic purge of dealers. We send an email out. If we don't get an order or don't get an email from them, we get rid of them. But I think at one point we're over 300 dealers, maybe 300 or 400 dealers, but some of them are spending thousands a week. Some of them are spending hundreds a year. Do you know what I mean? There's a big, broad spectrum, but we've got a lot of people that they'll only buy our stuff. We've got a lot of dealers that'll buy a bit of our stuff and a bit of other people's stuff, and I think some of them's probably been naughty in the past and said it's our stuff when it's other people's as well, and sort of rid off the back of our thing a little bit, which we've found a few of them out and stopped it. But at the end of the day, it's impossible to control what's happening at the other side of the world. You can't do it. So that's why we're sort of happy to have, we get the payment up front, we post the parts out, if we have a problem we sort it, rather than having 50 grams worth of stuff sat in somebody else's warehouse that they're just picking away and then they go, sorry, we can't pay you this month, and blah. I think we've kept it so we've insulated ourselves from problems. Yeah, so yeah, it works pretty good. We've got a lot of good dealers, a lot of good customers, and but because our shipping's pretty quick anyway, most of the dealers just order as they get cars in, order as they get inquiries in, because they know that we can get stuff out to them pretty quickly without any major problems. So
I think we'll have a chat about world records.
Well, it was funny because my little lad come to work the other day and we got a magazine and it had got a rosa on front and all this kind of, or a rosa inside it, and he was wanting me to read it out to him, and I read it out, and my missus was like, which I've been with missus since we're 13-year-olds, so I've been with her for like 17 years now. People don't go to prison for murder for that long, do they? But and I read something out about world record, and she's like, "What is that fastest car? Is that got a world record?" I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh, I didn't even know." I'm like, what planet you been on? You know what I mean? How did you not know? There's videos all over it and talks about. But I suppose I'd like to think it's because we're humble about what we do and we don't shout about it every day that we can possibly. But yeah, that was very difficult to achieve. it was many years slogging away to knock off a couple of temps. it would definitely weren't worth the investment. Definitely not. Thank God. Yeah, that's it. And to be fair, there's much more to be had from that car. So just a case of getting it
Is that still running? Is it 2 litre 16 valve then?
Yeah, still running common rail engine. We're probably going to do something a bit different, but I don't know whether we'll do it with that car or a new one or whatever. But it's pie in the sky stuff. You can go on as much as you want. I've enjoyed more recently working on the customer stuff where we just get it done. Do you know, where you get it in, you do a set specific amount of work and you get it done. Them ongoing jobs that are never quite finished and not, I won't say I don't enjoy them, because you're sometimes doing stuff that's never been done before, but you're also, stuff that's never quite finished never gets used.
I've heard that saying so many times.
Yeah, and a lot of people that claim X, Y, Z and I can do this better, I can do that better, they never finish them and they never use them and they never do what we're doing, you know what I mean? Like, but we're generally the only diesel in most of the races that we're in, except when you're in Focus Cup and everyone's a Focus diesel. But it's very difficult to make these competitive. When you get them right and you get them to last, they're probably, in some respects, which petrol people will absolutely hate it, but they're superior in some respects, because like the proofs in the 750 Motor Club wouldn't let us race last year. Like everybody's like, oh, why are you racing this, why are you racing that? And they just wouldn't let us enter in any of their races in any category. They'd let us come as a guest, and if we were 10 seconds ahead of everybody, we'd not even get a trophy. You know, it'd be one of them. We'd not even get a mention.
Why?
Because it'd just be guest entry, and we've sort of pushed, and then this year they've allowed diesels to go in, but they're putting a 1.1 power ratio cap on it. So if there's a petrol engine with 220 horsepower, we're only allowed 200. So because of obviously the torque, the extra torque that we've got and stuff like that, which if you listen to people with petrol engines, a diesel's worse in every respect and the petrol's always faster, but they wouldn't be applying factors of 10% less power to cars if a diesel car with the same power weren't faster. So it and we've always made, we're always stuck in that position where if your car goes fast, it's the car. But I don't know, it's a weird one, because nobody's ever said, oh, you and Scott can drive, you know what I mean? Which I'm not bothered about, because we're not the best drivers. There's definitely better drivers in worse cars, keeping them at the pointy end. But sometimes our car's been an absolute dog, and Scott usually, because he's the better driver. I know you wanted to ask me that.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question.
Scott generally, if the car's not running, if we have a problem, Scott can bring it home. You know what I mean? Scott can drive it. But I always say he does a lot more racing than I do, because I've got 2 kids at home. Scott's got none. He thinks he's an international playboy flying right world driving cars, but he knows when I want to, and when I put my mind to it, I can show him a thing or two. And like, it's always in chicanes, I'm always quicker than him. He can knock half a second off me in a lap, but I can knock off 2 or 3 attempts in just one chicane, and he's like, how have you gone that much faster? Like, just watch my videos. But if I go faster than him, he has to go out and go faster. He can't go home knowing I've gone round a track faster than him in the car he's been in.
So, do you know anybody who's novice, and I'm quite, when it comes down to circuit racing and stuff like that, what do you have to go through to be able to sort of drive at the levels you're driving at?
Well, we, up until probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 for track days, we'd never even been on a track day, never done anything like that, because we've just been that busy trying to build the business. We just were like, too busy, it's a frivolous expense, we can't afford to do it at the minute. Obviously, I got my first child were born and stuff like that, it just didn't work for us. And then we got to the point like, we've got a little bit of free time now, we're doing all the products that need testing. We need to get the testing in a shorter period of time. We can't have them in a car for 10,000 miles. We need to get them out there and just give them out. And that's the best way of doing it. So we built a track car, built the Ibiza, and we went out and we were just smashing it round. And we must have done 50 or 60 track days, maybe more. I don't know exactly how many, loads. We're doing 1 a month, you know what I mean, for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 a month.
Ones you just turn up?
Yeah, just turn up, open pit track day. You just turn up with your car, drop a bit of pressure out at tyres, go out there, smash round, come in when it's dinner time, eat your dinner, go out and then make yourself feel sick in the afternoon because you've had too much dinner. And we did that for a while, and then we had a guy working for us who did a little bit of racing, and he's like, you need to go racing, you know what I mean? And he was a bit sure of his head and says, you'll not be as fast as me, but you can have a go at it, you know, one of them sort of things. And we're like, all right, we'll have a go. And yeah, we went and we'd always, whenever we were younger, like for his birthdays, we didn't go a lot, but like obviously me and Scott are twins, so whenever we did something for his birthdays, we were always together. And my mum or dad would pay for us to go-karting, and we always did pretty good. I can always remember like when you're briefing at Marshall's, a ticket mixing, and this blue flag's one that you'll see when I'm going to overtake you and all this carry on, and we want to upset a few Marshalls by them not being able to get round us. So we've always been able to drive, but nobody's taught us, you know what I mean? We've never had anybody like Sass saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. We've just always just had a go at it. And then when we've done the racing, again, it was sort of bumble your way forward, So to start racing, really, you need a car first that's going to have everything that you need, which gets expensive. Once you go from a track day to racing, it goes up a bit, no matter what kind. Like to build one of them Ford KAs, I think to do it properly, if you factor a little bit of labour in, you know what I mean, at a reasonable rate, you're probably still £8,000 in, and that's probably the cheapest car you could build. You buy a car for 250 quid, and you're still going to spend £8,000 to get it to where it'll last 4 hours in a race. You know what I mean? But you share that between 2 or 3 or 4 of you anyway. In that sort of racing, but like the racing that we do, it's 45-minute race with a mandatory pit stop that's 2 minutes. I think it's 2.5 minutes now, and you can do a driver swap in between. So it's good if there's 2 of you that are sharing a car. One can go out first, and then you do a swap halfway through, and away you go. And that worked pretty good. You can do it as a one man as well, so it works out pretty good. You still have to do the pit stop, you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs, but you have to do your ARDS test first, which is not expensive, a couple £100 to get that. And then that's just saying you're competent in not crashing. It doesn't mean you're any good at driving, it just means you're not going to crash. And then, which is what your normal driving test does, and everybody crashes. So, and then you do the race, and when we did it, we had no idea what we were doing, and we did all right in the first couple of races, you know what I mean? No podiums, no trophies, but we learnt an hell of a lot that racing's not just turning up. We learnt that a lot of people cheat, that is for sure. I don't know why, because you get a plastic trophy, you know what I mean? It should be sport. It's, you know what I mean? It's like having a three-legged footballer sometimes with some at cars. They're like absolutely ridiculous, but it's worse than steroid. Some of them are worse than steroid abuse in biking game. I don't know why. It's crazy, but we learnt an hell of a lot. But yeah, well, this is what a lot of people saw it as, and you know what I mean. Some people were stopping at nothing to win, but we wanted to promote the company, and we never wanted to be getting caught cheating when we're trying to promote a company and a product. But we've done pretty good. We won the championship, not last year, because last year we were just a shower turd, but the year before we won the championship, not very easily either. We had some very good drivers and some very good cars. Some of it was circumstantial, you know. If it were just a head-to-head and nobody retired at all, it'd have still been quite a battle for us. But we proved that we can do it as a team, and the car can do it. And it was Scott who did all the driving in that championship. He was fed up with me throwing his races away, he said, so I just let him drive it. Because when my head goes and I'm out at loop, I was losing it. I prefer track days to racing, to be fair, but I think on a track day, if you have a problem, you don't have to blow your car up to try and get to end. If you get fed up, you just come in and cool down for a little bit. Whereas racing, it's a bit more intense. You're on it, and you get a lot less driving time. The costs go up by it costs you probably 10 times more to go on a race day, and you probably get 10 times less driving. So it's 100 times more expensive per minute car. I'm a tight twat, so I don't like that. But yeah, obviously, no company would race if it didn't make financial sense. As like, you know, Mercedes wouldn't race in F1 if it didn't make financial sense to race in F1. But then some companies will do it just as a money wasting exercise. So you've got both avenues, and we had to see a business point of view from it and an enjoyment point of view. And like last year's racing, we tried racing a brand new car, whereas the first year that we won the championship in, we were racing a well-established car. It'd not been a race car, but it'd been a track car for a long time, whereas we built, like last year, we built the Golf from scratch, and every problem we'd ever had with it, we'd never had in a car before. Do you know what I mean? Everything was like, we've got this nailed. We did one race in it was faultless, and then the next race, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Everything the next race could go wrong went wrong. It just one of them years before we start having to wear, you know what I mean, face nappies and playing about. So last year got very stressful in that respect, to the point where we might as well have not gone. But we pushed, and we know what we need to do this year. We know what we need to do better. And it's a learning curve for everybody, you know what I mean? Not everybody gets it right every time, but the racing, I think the circuit racing is not as good for the company as the drag racing. The drag racing with Rosa.
We're going to ask you about drag racing.
Yeah, we didn't do much for the last 2 years. That's why I generally don't mention it very much. But the drag racing, that just pushed the company forward massively, just because it's like a very quick, easy, look how quick we are, look how well the car goes, you know what I mean, look how it sounds good, it looks good, it gets, and you can watch it quite easy. The circuit racing, we get a lot of, when we're at the track, you know what I mean, it's like, oh, I've watched your videos, oh, I like this, I didn't realise that I got that close to you in the last race, and you know, it's like a big community, but you can't make a business from that side of things, I don't think. You couldn't, I don't think a lot of companies doing the racing, the track side stuff, are making a lot of money doing that, which, again, it goes on to you don't have to make a killing to be making a living, but you also need to actually be making a profit to be there next year, and we know that's not going to be, we're not going to get into, I don't think we're going to get into running people's cars as a commercial enterprise. Like, we've got Nick's Leon, like the touring car Leon that we had last year, we've got that back in again, and we're going to help Nick run that again, because he's had a bit of trouble with the last people that have run it a little bit, and so because it's a diesel and not their expertise, even though the car's just nuts and bolts, people treat him a little bit differently, and especially when he crashed it a couple of times, and when it got rebuilt, it didn't get rebuilt, we'd have rebuilt it, and he's had a few problems related to that. So we've got a lot of things that we want to do this year, again, racing, but again, there's no plans being made by anybody yet. So it's like, when do we start? How are we going to start? Is it going to start in the capacity that we're expecting? Are we going to have the testing that we have? So we sort of having to do everything belt and braces at the minute. We're building everything with a mindset that it might just be the first time we use it might be qualifying. You know what I mean? It's that sort of mindset, which is very difficult when you're doing a lot of stuff.
And have you got plans to get back to drag?
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff we want to do to the Arosa still. We just haven't had time to do it, but if we need to, we'll make time. But because there were not really many spectators last year, early on we just said, let's just can it. You know what I mean? The idea, the Arosa's a spectator sport when you're there, as well as just doing the videos. So we wanted there to be a packed crowd there when we're doing some good stuff. Because last time we did when we got the world record, it was a closed event. There were hardly anybody there. It was a little bit underwhelming, the response. You know what I mean? It was like a quick high five, go get a burger. And I read one at comments that somebody put. It says, "Congratulations on the record, but being from Yorkshire, you'll remember buying 8 burgers more." And I was like, "Yeah, I do. To be fair, I can remember it cost about £50 to feed everybody. I was gutted, but the drag race. I do want to do it. I absolutely hated it when I drove the car, which sounds a bit weird.
Why is that then?
The pressure just got to me too much. You know what I mean? I enjoyed the driving it, but you sat in a queue for an hour, and there's like, I don't know how many people here, but a few thousand people sat there watching you, and you just fluff it a little bit, and you've got an hour to wait to show them that it were you being stupid and it weren't that car's a bag of crap or whatever. And I just thought, and every time I broke it, I had to apologise to Paul that I'd done something stupid, or it was something that we'd all collectively done wrong, and you know what I mean? It was one of them, and so I just let Paul drive it, and it's lasted a lot longer since Paul drove it, so I think he's getting a little bit of mechanical sympathy that I probably didn't have, so, and he's a lot happier driving it, you know what I mean? He actually enjoys driving it, and I think that's, people think I'm stupid for paying all bills towards getting it there and doing it, and then Paul drive it, but if everybody's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Yeah. Can't do everything yourself.
No, and me and Scott are both very happy to share what we're doing with everybody, you know what I mean? We're not egotistic maniacs that are like everybody's like, oh, I love your YouTube channel. I'm like, it's a company YouTube channel, you know what I mean? We're showing the company off in what the company can do.
I was just about to say I love your channel.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, thank you. I love yours as well, I love it. Let's stop stroking each other's egos now. But it's funny, I was just going up for a walk up North Yorkshire a few months ago, and this random bloke just come up talking to me about it, and then my missus was like, "You've been ages, what have you been doing?" I'm like, "I've just been talking to somebody spotted me," and she's like, "George, what anybody talking to you, Dad?" He's like, "I never saw anybody, Mum." I'm like, "Shut up, you were bugging me while you were talking to me." But yeah, a lot of people, I think sometimes I'm not sure I believe the YouTube views, because like some of our videos, some of the track ones, they get like 500 views, and you're like, oh, that were it. It took ages to edit that and ages to put it together. You know what I mean? It like 8 hours worth of footage that we've crammed into like 20 minutes or half an hour, and then loads of people talk to you about, oh, I love that video, and you're like, I'm sure I've talked to 500 people about that video, you know what I mean? Surely I ain't talked to every person that's watched it. Like we said before when we talked about the YouTube stuff, there's no point having 500,000 views on a video if then in comments it's just full of people saying you're an absolute div, you know what I mean? It's like
They might have said that about me and you today.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Like, what are these two people babbling? What language are they talking? Where are these from? But
where's the whippet in the flat cap?
yeah. I've got a kestrel on my back, but it's a funny one. But you can't please everybody, and I think like when I look at analytics, I don't do it often. I looked other day because I thought it might end up being something. But a lot of people in America and they don't really comment much, you know. They don't comment saying we can't understand you. So I think it's people from London and places like that can't understand us, not people that from further afield.
I think did I tell you someone commented on one of our videos and saying it's like watching Peter Kay review cars. Now, I'm not from over that end, but I'll take that any day week being compared to Peter Kay.
It's a funny one. We get a lot of comments, and I just laugh at them. You know what I mean? Like I said to you before, lads will read YouTube and Facebook comments out and absolutely pee in the Senate stuff people say, and just like, what do you want me to say? I'm like, just mock them.
If you can always take it like that, and it's the best way, because when I first launched, I should say when we first launched Vand, I didn't realise how much people will nitpick at something you've said or got wrong or something, you know, and I were a bit like, you know, but as time comes, you just think, well, if you want to watch the video, watch it. You know, I'm all for constructive criticism, you know, and that's as far. I think we talked about it before. I will not give someone a voice if it's not anything, you know, positive. It's just, I'm not giving them a voice. It's as simple as.
Yeah. There's no point. It's your channel for a reason. If they want to talk about it in a public forum where maybe there's more chance of somebody saying, "What you're on about? You're talking rubbish." But like I said about not working for people that we don't want to work for, and people not having to be here. You know, nobody's against the world. Nobody has to watch anything that we're doing or listen to all that we're doing. It is what it is, isn't it? You know what I mean?
You want to watch it?
If it's crap, tells it's crap, but gives a reason why. You know what I mean? Don't just say this is crap. This is crap.
I'm all for it, but we can't change his accents.
No, I'm not even going to try. You know what I mean? As soon as I start talking posh, my friends will disown me. So I'm more bothered about what they think than what anybody on the internet thinks. But I think like the main thing, obviously, like, we've had a lot of people saying, "Oh, that video looks crap." You're like, why? Oh, your audio's terrible. Well, tell me what to do with my audio, and they'll share a video where somebody talks through what they used to do the videos, and you're like, there we go. Just do that instead of just, you know what I mean? If you haven't got good to say, don't say out at all.
You know, in reality, if you're sat here doing a video and you're on your own and you've got your GoPro, or you're talking in car and you're driving, and then you realise you get back and download it all and you've lost audio.
Yeah.
Or it's rubbish.
Yeah. I can't do things twice. I can't use a script. Like you've made a few notes of what you want to talk about and stuff just to make sure they're not scary in there. And I'm terrible. If I write something down, I probably don't say it. I'm better off not writing it down, and I'll remember. And like a lot of people are always saying about my videos, you don't put any eye contact with camera. I'm like, but I don't stare into people's eyes when I'm talking to them, so it's weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it don't come natural to me. I'll tell you one thing I do want to talk about. Obviously, you know, bucket list for me is Nurburgring. I haven't been yet, hopefully. I were going to try and go this year, but no chance of that. And when you guys went last, I spoke to your dad in car park, actually. And he was telling me all about it, how amazing it was, being at Sabine's. And it sort of blew my mind. I was just like, oh, my word. Yeah. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, my dad's not a car guy at all. You know, my dad, he's had a couple of nice cars until, his exact words, until your CUNTs come along. You know what I mean? He's like, that will end him having out nice, he says. But we just said we're going to Nurburgring, and then Steph's older brother was like, oh, I'd come. And then my dad's like, oh, I'll come. And then Scott and Paul went over to Spa first. They drove over to Spa in the A5. And the sort of prerequisite to Scott was, you go over to Spa, give the car a little shakedown, because all the good stuff is happening at the Nurburgring. And then I not heard anything from him. I'm like, I know he's on track. So I rung Paul and I'm like, Paul, you in car? No, I'm just waiting for Scott to come back. I'm like, how long's he been? He's been 45 minutes. I'm like, what do you mean he's been 45 minutes? Like, he's been going round for 45 minutes constantly. And I'm like, he's meant to be taking it steady. You know, car had only been on one track day before. We took it to Spa. But basically that track day came about and that weekend came about. We bought an M4. There were 8 M4s for sale, all the same. And we bought one of those. And I drove it and I hated it. And I just said to Scott, I don't like it. It's horrible. I don't like how it drives. I don't like how throttle responsive. It was quick, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, it was quicker than A5 was. But I was just like, I don't like it. I don't want to drive it. It's an expensive car if we crash it. And it's not our expertise. So I don't want to take it. And Scott's like, well, we'll have to sort something else out. So
It's one of those special edition.
it was from Parma Sport. So it was just a normal M4 that they then jazz up and put a cage in and all.
Right, okay.
It weren't like they did one that looked exactly the same. BMW made one that looked exactly the same, pretty much, and it was $100,000. You know what I mean? Like a competition or so. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
The one in at our local dealer, I was like, we've got same car for like a third of that price. But anyway, and I just said I didn't want to take it because I said it's not as comfy to drive on road. It's not going to be as good and blah blah blah. And I said it's not going to do us any favours for a company. So I'd seen a few videos. From Misha at the ring, and I liked how he was sort of showing people to go around and stuff, and I thought I can buy into that. So we originally were going to go into their hotel and they were full, and Scott just said to the guys who were going, who we knew in the M4s, where are you staying? Like, oh, we're staying at Sabine Schmidt's place. We're like, you can't even book it, and we're like yeah, I know, she stopped booking it out for some reason. At that point, we didn't know why she was stopping renting it out. And they said there's probably a few spare rooms. Like, we'll just ring her and ask her and just see what's what. They got one of the guys had stayed there a few times before, and then they rung her and said, "Oh yeah, we've got like a full side hotel that we're not using at the minute. So yeah, you can come." And so Scott were at Spa. Smashing round. I rung Paul. Paul told me he'd been out. I rung Scott and like, stop being stupid. You know what I mean? We set up we were going over. Me, my dad, and Steph were driving over in the van with a Citigo on the back.
Aye, because you did a video, didn't you? The vlog.
Yeah. So we took the Citigo over because we wanted Misha to drive the Citigo. That was the main aim of the game. We wanted him to go in the Citigo to sort of just promote that, and just talk about him, just have a crack really. And so then we got on the ferry. Scott was still smashing around Spa. I'm like, what is he playing at? You know what I mean? This guy's going to be dead before we even get there. And it worked out all right. It was fine. Scott enjoyed it. Raced a few things. Did a few daft things. Nothing too major. So then we got back to... Me, my dad and Steph got to Sabine's place. And... we went into our room and she's there hoovering up in our room. You know what I mean? She was like tending to it, and my dad's like I said, my dad's not a big car guy, but he knows who she is. He'd seen her on telly and stuff like that, and we're just like, can't believe it. And her and her husband were pouring us pints at night, you know what I mean, and cooking us dinner. Yeah, her husband's he sells meat for a living, like tons of meat, and he's got like a pig farm and all this stuff. So like they did us like a big hog roast and all this stuff, all these sausages. You can buy his stuff in Co-op, I think, and Marks and Spencer's. Yeah. Freaka, I think it's Freakadeli they call it. The place, I don't know if did you see the hotel that were on? I think it were on Timber Kings. They built it on Timber Kings. They shipped it all over from Canada, I think, and they built that hotel. My dad loved it. My dad's into my dad were like, I think my dad were more impressed with cabin than whose it was. You know what I mean? But it was just crazy. And Sabine's husband, he runs a race team, Porsche race team, Freakadeli Racing, and we said, oh, is there any way we can work on the car that's a bit more level? You know what I mean? We want to bleed the brakes and just have a check ride because it's a pretty new car. And he's like, yeah, bring it to my workshop. And he ended up bleeding the brakes on car for us. You know what I mean? It was just crazy. That were all stuff that I didn't get to see because I weren't there at that point. And it was just crazy. And the ring, like I said, my dad's not into the car stuff, and he was just like, this is like Mecca for cars, you know what I mean? It's like everybody were just interested in everything, you know what I mean? You can turn up in whatever and everybody's interested in it. It's like, you know what it's like in England. Everybody who lives near a racetrack hates it because they're just that noisy thing, buzzing round, annoying everybody. The car scene, the show scene is just annoying to them. But at the Nurburgring, it's just like totally opposite. I think they definitely downplay how much it costs when you crash. You know what I mean? It's quite bad when you crash. And it happens a lot more than the crash videos show, you know what I mean? You think, some of these crash videos, you think that's like in a week. I'm sure some of it's in like a day. You know, it's like mental how many people are crashing there, which I don't think it should put people off. It should just make you realise that you can't just, the first time you go on a track, don't want to be the Nurburgring. Like I won't say very experienced, but well experienced in track day driving, and I didn't drive 100% at the ring. I was like, this could easily be a big crash, an expensive crash, and a big problem getting home. You know what I mean? It was one of them sort of things. So you've got to be very careful. But as far as going to drive and just the experience, you know, just being in a car park that's just buzzing, and it's just a nice place. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people go over, drive over, do a week, and then drive back. You could definitely have like a couple of weeks there with a camper van with your family around it, you know what I mean, and you go off doing your own thing and send your missus and kids off to do some other stuff, and it is good. And it was obviously that sort of thing were like dream levels of stuff for a lot of people, you know what I mean. Like it just happened by accident for us again. It was one of them rate place, rate time, rate situation, saying yet at rate people, you know what I mean. Because the guys that we went over there with, they're going over all the time, you know. They didn't always stay at Sabine's place, but they're always there. They know where the best place to go for a drink, go to eat, do everything. So it was good. It was really good. We had a very good experience. I think you can definitely have a bad one, but we had a good one.
Oh, good. Because I know, obviously, Mr. Showdring.
Yeah.
He's that's all he just spends his days driving around that, I think, doesn't he?
Watch his channel quite a lot, and you supplied quite a lot of parts to him as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people thought we'd give him for free as well, which we didn't. He bought them, you know what I mean? And he's, for somebody with as many subscribers he's got, I think he's up 250,000 or something like that now. He's always willing to pay his way. Obviously, we just literally, Paul's just building a gearbox, an engine for him, and Owen's just finishing his gearbox for him now while we're doing this podcast. So that's getting sorted. But by now, we should have had his car over here, we should have put the engine in, took it to the track and done some shakedown stuff, you know what I mean, if things were normal. So it's a bit frustrating in that respect, but we're going to make it work. Whatever we need to do to make it work, we're going to do. And we've built obviously I know we're probably jumping a bit further forward, but we've built we built some cars specifically to drive around Europe and to do that sort of stuff, but they're probably a bit slow for what, because Spa in the Ring commands a pretty powerful car. Do you know what I mean? To go around fast, you're going fast a lot. You know what I mean? You're over 100 mile an hour for the majority of the track, whereas on a UK track, you're probably only over 100 mile an hour for.
100 mile an hour?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You're probably only 5% at the time you're over 100 mile an hour at a UK track. You know what I mean? It's a quick track, and like the guys that we were going over with, they were dropping in. They were dropping into Foxhole, which were at faster bits. They were doing 165 mile an hour in them M4s, sat on each other's bumpers. You know what I mean? It's like, and if you don't know where you're going, you think you can keep going 165. It's like a 50 mile an hour corner after that. You're proper tanking, blind, big compression. So your car's got to be very well set up. Like the City Go probably were a little bit too raw. But the A5, Misha absolutely loved it. You know, he was like, this is absolutely awesome. It's like the perfect ring tool. And we didn't do much, because that was the first track day. We had a lot of stuff that were comparable with us. We didn't really get a chance to race it much, but then we did a track day afterwards at Donington, and our A5 were only a second, which it sounds like a lot, but it were only a second a lap slower than M4s.
Yeah.
So, and an M4 that tuned, like they were 500 and some horsepower. They were pretty quick, but the A5 just did everything just well. And we spent a lot of money on it, but it weren't unachievable for the working man to make a car like that, and it did everything nice, which is why we bought another one to do the same thing with, and after we gave that one away, and we never quite got that way we want it for a few reasons, but mainly the gearbox, because the gearboxes are always painful on them, especially when they've done some mileage. But we've learnt a lot that we can tell customers and steer customers in the right direction doing that sort of stuff, which is good, because there's nothing worse than you telling a customer to buy this car and we'll do X, Y, Z to it and then it not working. So it does work pretty good, that. So again, the Nurburgring's taught us a lot about stuff. I can definitely see why car companies want to take the cars there to test them when they're trying to make the fast ones, but the cars that they make fast there are probably not going to be as fast at a UK circuit or a proper circuit, and they're probably not that good on road then. So they're probably ruining them. They're probably ruining them to make them good at the Nurburgring in some respects, but you can definitely make a car better being there. So yeah, I can see why.
If you can just go through in detail, because obviously the KTM, you guys being
Authorised dealers, can you just sort of
give us an idea how that all started and came about?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that a lot of people, especially when we go racing, like the people in the paddock, see as like quite a big accolade that we've got, and I think the reality of it's probably a bit less, a bit more underwhelming. It's not. It's one of them. It's one of them things that it's not going to ever be. I don't think it could be a business on itself for anybody, and I think that's why we ended up with the gigs. The people who's tried it before have just realised it's not a big earner, and that's not in a. It's one that would be very difficult to even sustain. Do you know what I mean? It's not even that you'd make a lot of money. You'd very struggle. You struggle to sustain it.
It's an add-on, isn't it? It's an add-on to what you do.
Yeah, definitely. But they didn't want it to be really. They didn't want us to stop doing what we're doing. But basically, how that come about, we met Grant, who owned a KTM, on a track day. We were in Ibiza with Brocky, and then we're like, "What can we do rest of the day? You know, we're in Bedford. What can we do?" And he just saw, "Come for a drive in this car with me," and we realised he didn't know how to drive it, and he kept getting it in wrong gears and swearing at everybody and stuff. But the car were good, and that track day were organised by Chris at Circuit Days, and it was like a free track day that you got if you were going on a Riviera, I think a Riviera tour or something that Scott were doing, like a driving trip around Europe, and so Grant were going on that. So then we went in that car and we're talking to him, and you're like, "I can't believe that you've been trying to fix your car all day and all this kind of." I'm like, yeah, messing about, because it was something stupid. I broke something and we didn't fix it. But he was like, "I'd have thought you just packed up and gone." I'm like, "No, we've got to try and fix it and get rest of the day." And he just said, "When you go on this trip, come and see me." And I said, "Well, I'm not going on it." Scott was, but I went. And Scott ended up tagging along with him and sort of making friends with him and his wife, because Scott went over there with his missus. And then they were going on track days with Grant's son, who were I think he was just 17 or 18, and he was letting him drive the KTM on track. And he's like, "It's too much for him to be driving. I need to get something that if he crashes it, it's not end of world." You know what I mean? And we says, "Well, we're sort of at the point where the Ibiza's probably going to be getting retired from racing wheels, and we're getting another car." So he says, "Oh well, when that's done, give me a shout and we'll try and do some sort of deal." And we said, "Right, we're getting rid of it. We probably want X amount of money for it." I can't remember what we said. And he said, "Would you fancy buying this KTM? Because I fancy a 911 GT3 RS." And I'm like, "We don't really want a KTM, but yeah, we'll get it and we'll put a diesel engine in it back." So we sorted a deal, and it was a pretty good deal, because he were giving us top money for our car and sort of bottom money for that car. So we'd have probably struggled to sell our car for what we'd have got for that, and we'd ended up better off. So we said, "Yeah, we'll do it." And then the plan was to put a diesel engine in. So we got it and we drove it on track a few times. Yeah, that was the original idea. And we were driving it around track and we're like, we like it, you know what I mean? It's a good car. It's pretty good. But then you went on a wet track day and you're like, "This is shit." I'm getting wet. But it weren't bad when you were moving it or when you were stood still. So we sort of, well, like, what do we do with, you know what I mean? It's a lot of money. It's like they're 120 grand car that'd have been new if you wanted that spec.
Yeah, we're looking at.
And yeah, stupid money for what they are, but they are good. And we sort of didn't really think much on it. And then a guy who used to race for KTM factory, so he raced for the factory dealer in Austria, an English guy called Mark. He knew Grant pretty well, because when they were racing one time at Brands Hatch, and that's near to where Grant's house is, they crashed in practice. And they realised that he was nearby and rung him and said, "Can we come and pinch a load of bits off your car so we can carry on racing, and then we'll do something to help you out." So he did that, and then Mark were very thankful to Grant, so then helped him out on a few track days, did a bit of tuition and helped set the car up and stuff. And then when Grant sold us the car, he put Mark in touch with us and said he's got some tools and he's got some equipment and stuff that you might want to buy, some like stands, because like they've got like a frame to jack them up and you stand them up on these frames. And he got these for sale because he'd sold his car at this point as well. So we bought them off Mark, and then he came to our unit, and he came with his kids, which is same as when I've got kids. You never really get a chance to talk. You're just wrangling kids all the time and trying to stop them killing each other. And he just said, I'm going to speak to somebody about your place. And I'm like, all right, what about? And he's like, I'll let you know. And a couple of weeks later, we got an email from Ed of KTM Sports Cars. And he just said, not KTM the motorbike, they keep the cars and the bikes pretty much separate. He just said, we're looking for dealers. We've got a couple of dealers who are not really that interested in carrying it on at minute because they're busy with other projects and other things. Would you want to do it? And we're like, yeah, send us terms, we'll see. And the terms look pretty favourable, in our favour really. If the main thing, you had to sell a car every year, that was just one car, which weren't a big deal. And they said, yeah, that's not a problem, we can do it. We're pretty much set up for the mail order side of things. What we realised is there was nobody listing any of the parts online anywhere, so you couldn't go on any website and buy the parts for any of these cars. So we thought, well, that's what we're good at doing. So we said, yeah, we can do that, and there were decent margins in the parts. And we listed the parts, got them sorted, but then obviously this COVID stuff kicked off, and it was just so difficult to try and even showcase the cars, never mind sell one. And I think the money that they're at, for the open top ones at least, you're sort of into, like, you get a lot of car for that sort of money. You know what I mean? Not a lot of car I don't think you can get a car that'll do exactly what that'll do on the track. You know, they're very rare.
For what you're paying.
Yeah, and the compromise, obviously, in the UK, how many people want a car that's not got a roof? You know what I mean? It's quite difficult to get people. A convertible, yeah, but a car that's not got a roof, no. So we sort of put that to them. It's like, look, the UK market for this is pretty thin. So the selling a car every year might be difficult, but we'll do what we can. But then the KTM, the GT4, which were a race only one, then they did the GTX Street. So they did a GTX concept, which is like a closed cockpit. It was like Batmobile, you know what I mean? It's like mental.
Yeah.
And they did a street version then. And Grant, who's got the Porsche, and we bought the KTM, was like, as soon as they release, I want to buy one. But then they want to really sell them from the factory, so it's going to be difficult. It's not going to really fit in with what we were selling and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a difficult one. But we said that is the car. It's sort of Porsche 911 GT3 RS money, but it's definitely quicker, more tunable, and people will buy them, because although the GT3 RS is definitely a cruiser as well as a track weapon, this is definitely for the person that don't go driving all over Europe, who just goes to track days, but wants to drive it there and have the potential to go to the shops in it a week.
And have these got the TFSI engine in them?
These have got the RS3 engine in these ones, so the 5-cylinder. So they're like 400 horsepower standard. So that was like, yeah, this is what we want to do, but they're like, well, these will be sold from the factory, and then they change their mind, maybe you can sell them. A lot of back and forth, and it was very difficult. We had, obviously, we can't go to KTM and tell them what our terms are. They tell us what the terms are, and we do as we're told. You know what I mean? And that's we've never operated our business being told what to do, so we find it a bit difficult. You know what I mean? We never. I got told off at school for not doing as I'm told, so I'm not going to change now.
It's stuff that's out of your control, isn't it? That's the
yeah. And obviously, what works in Dubai, in Portugal, and Spain don't work in England. You know what I mean? We've got different weather. We've got different customers. There's not people making money doing nothing in England. You know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not the same. But and we weren't really getting listened to in that respect. So we sort of said at the beginning of this year, we don't want to hold you guys back, because there'll be like supercar dealers. You know what I mean? There's like supercar dealers that definitely push the cars, but they don't want to be involved with the part side of things. So can we just not do the cars, or only do the cars if they come to us? And then we'll do the parts and we'll do the service and the repairs if they come to them. They're like, that ain't why we normally do it, but we've not really got many options going on at the minute. Let's all try and work together. So at the minute, we are still a dealer. We can still sell one, but we're not really pushing it too hard, because we had basically Sarah, who does a bit of marketing and stuff. She was basically, that's all she was doing to try and push things. And we've had, like, the head of marketing at KTM actually wanted us to send him a picture that Sarah did, like a print, like she'd done all the cars in like a Christmas tree type thing. And he said he wanted that so he could print it off and have it in his office. And they've all said we've done like more marketing than anybody else has ever done. But we've also heard from the other dealers that they've done a lot of development stuff that we'd never do. Do you know what I mean? They'd push things a lot harder on the track and stuff that we'd never get towards doing because we ain't got that sort of funds behind us to do that. So it's a difficult one. They're an expensive car. I think they're worth every penny if you want raw power, speed and drivability. But they come with compromises. You know, the people comparing to an Ariel Atom, they're nothing like an Ariel Atom. You know what I mean? They're like leagues above. But the Ariel Atom, for half the money, does 90% of what that does on track as well. So it's like it's 6 and 2 free. It's like everything. But there are people out there buying them. But I think there's a lot of the older ones because they were very low. You know, they're like half price what they are now.
So I tell you what, one thing I do want to talk to you about because I was when you first put some videos on with greenlaning, I was quite surprised. Is it something that your Scott's been into a while, or you guys have been into, or is it totally brand new to you all?
Yeah, a few mates used to do it a lot when they had Land Rovers and stuff like that, but we never went with him, never been with him. We did a Christmas party a few years ago where we like gave everybody a few £100 each and said go buy a car and like grouped together and go buy a car and let's see what happens. And some of them didn't even make it there. But we went to like an off-road centre and just destroyed them. But we sort of get a lot of people saying you should do some more stuff with 4x4, you should do the Land Rover, you should do this, you should do that. And we're just like, no, we're not interested. And then I don't know why, I don't know what made me think about it, but I think it was sort of during lockdown, and I thought, what else can we do? And I thought, well, green lanes must still be open. You know what I mean? They kept the roads, they can't shut them. And I just said, I want to buy a Toureg because I'm sure they're meant to be good off road. I didn't look at any videos and all that. I just thought, I'm sure there's some good. You know what I mean? Because Volkswagen, they sort of brought the Toureg out when the Phaeton and the Bugatti Veyron were out, and Volkswagen were like just pushing all the money they could into trying to be the best at everything. And I thought, well, the normally telltale sign of a car that's been good off road is if they've got diff locks and stuff like that in it. And I had a look and I saw that you can get them with a rear diff lock. So then I just said to Danny, I said, what do you think? Should we buy a V10 Toureg? He's like, what for? I said, I don't know. Tune it, take it off road. He's like, well, they're good off road. I'm like, I think so. You know, we'll have to have a look. It's got diff locks. I said, it's always tyres that make them. So we'll have a go. We didn't really think, on it, didn't do any research, didn't do it with V10s. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, you must have done your research and seen that they were good. I'm like, no, we didn't. Just got one and just see if it were any good. And the whole idea, I got the tyres, I got some Maxxis big on, and just put them on. And I wanted something that I could take my little lad with me, because he's like, all we do is interested in, you know, his mum goes mad. He's like, I hear about his cars and racing, and you know what I mean? She has to pretend to be a car half the day. So I just thought, well, you can come, these like off-road centres, I think anybody can go, as long as you're in a car seat, you know what I mean? They're not bothered. So I said, well, take it there and it'll probably die, you'll probably flood it and kill it and it'll be no good by the time we're done, but we'll just break it and sell it, or we'll put engine in something else, or we'll do something with it, you know what I mean? That was the original thing. I think we originally said we might put it in an Amarok or something like that. And then we took it there, and my mate went with me, he's been into Landis for years, and all his mates are into him and stuff, and he came and he's like, it'll not go through there. I'm like, let's have a go. And it just went straight through. He's like, no way, I can't believe it. I'm going to get a landing, I'm going to try and beat you and all this kind of, and he still hasn't done it. And then I just said, we'll take it to some green lanes and let's see what's what. And we went and we did everything, like we followed a load of landis there, and when somebody saw that we got it, he messaged and he's like, do you want to come and I'll show you where some lanes are and stuff. And we went with them, and they were in Range Rovers, they were both in Range Rovers, and I realise now that the cutter's journey a bit short when they realised I'd have probably got up some of the stuff a bit easier than they did. So, but it were pretty good of them to show us around. But yeah, the car is absolutely mint off-road. I can't believe how good it is off-road. And I've had a few cars that we've been to these off-road centres and stuff, and I've took people out in it who's had like Land Cruisers and patrols and stuff, and they're just like, it's no worse than any of them. You know what I mean?
I couldn't believe when I watched that video where you're Scott. Water went straight off at bonnet.
Oh, I don't know how engine ain't dead. I honestly don't know how engine ain't dead.
Honestly, I'm crying now, but honestly, I was just like, gee, that's got to be dead. It's got to be.
Oh, I thought it was going to come out. It's been running on 4 cylinders. You know what I mean? They all swallowed water, but no, it were all right. But obviously, then once we've got that, we get a lot of people messaging and saying you should do this, and I do this, and I do that. There's a lot of people running them Touregs and quite a few V10s, and they're using them seriously off road, and they're lasting. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like, oh, it'll be dead within a week. It'll be dead then. Engine will be out soon, and it's been pretty good. Don't get me wrong. It's an old car. It's 14-year-old car. It's got its little quirks. It's been looked after in some respects and not in others, and I've definitely not looked after bodywork, but it's a good car, and I don't mind driving it on road either, which is funny. It is a nice car to drive.
I've seen you towing wagons.
Yeah, exactly. But which everybody was saying the car had been full, but they were definitely full. Well, one of them were definitely full. But but yeah, it's just a good car, and it's comfy on the road. My missus don't mind driving it when I've got it at home. It's one of them, if I come home in an old K-Reg, J-Reg Land Rover Discovery, I'd not want to drive it to these off-road centres. I wouldn't want to drive up North Yorkshire and done.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Driving land is in it. I've been in a few. I've driven a few on the cracking, but yeah.
I've drove them when they're brand new, and I think they're crap. But do you know what I mean? They've got the following for a reason, because they do what they do. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to go into Outback in that V10. We are being 100% sure it's mint, and I've got a few spares with me. But with a Land Rover, you're probably a bit better prepared in that. You know, less to go wrong as such. But I don't know. Everything's got the quirks, and I think just because not a lot of people are doing it, doesn't mean it don't want to be done. But yeah, I didn't realise there'd be so many people basically walking down what I'd consider a main road if there's people driving up and down it with faces like a smack bum because you're upsetting them on the Sunday morning on their little walk. But anyway, it's been good fun, and George has absolutely loved it. All he talks about now is I want to go off road, I want to go off road, I want to go off road. It's
current projects.
We've got loads.
I know you've got loads. I know. Try and skim through them. See what.
Yeah, I think we've got 12 at last count. So I did that sort of video going through them all. That's probably a better introduction. But yeah, Paul.
We'll put link in as well, just so people.
Yeah, link in. Yeah, Rosa, we said we're going to do a few bits on that. Got a few bits to do. Probably not going to get tons more power. Just we want more control of it. Power next. T5 truck. The engine's going to be going in that in a couple of weeks, maybe a week. They're just finishing painting the front. We're getting the back. We're painting that as well because it's always looked a bit tired, so we're going to jazz that up a bit. I can't think of what I want to replace it with. So the Beamer and the Mini, we've only recently got them. They're getting a few bits. I'm not doing things in the order I wanted to do. I mean, because we've had about 5 track days cancelled already that I'd have been on. I wanted to do like one thing before each track day, and that's not happened. Yeah, Toureg, loads of stuff I want to do on that. That's coming, jacking it up, big daft tyres.
Snorkels you've done. I saw that. I watched that video last week.
Yeah.
Is that something you're going to be selling as well?
Yeah, I've sold some already. Yeah, I've sold some already. One second in Australia, second in Canada, second in England, and a few others as well. So they're pretty good. I think I'm picking them up tonight from powder coaters. They've been done black, so it's to stop upsetting everybody that they're black. That they're not black. A5. Like I said, we've got a bit of gearbox problems with that. Might do something a bit crazy with that if it doesn't work, because I don't want to get rid of it. I like it. It's a nice car, and I want to actually drive it, because this is what I was saying about getting stuff finished. Like that's why I were happy when the Citigo went, and I were happy when the Ibiza went, because we'd always finished them to a certain extent, but we only finished them properly when we're getting rid of them.
I tell you, a mate of mine, because obviously I told him we're doing a podcast with you guys, and he says he always enters competitions to win them.
Yeah.
He like buys loads of tickets. He went, are they doing another? You need to ask him, are they doing another?
Yeah.
So are you doing another giveaway?
I think we will probably, the next one to go, I don't know whether just to sell it, because I could probably just sell it and get decent money for it, but the A6 probably will go next, because it's not getting used that much now. I've got like the Amarok, I've been driving that a lot. The Toureg, if I don't drive the Amarok, I drive the Toureg, and me and Scott swap between them, and it just depends. If we get rid of some of the other stuff, we'll probably keep that. But yeah, probably the A6, maybe the A5 if I don't do anything crazy with it, because the clutches only slip if we turn the power right up. But I wouldn't want to sell it with a problem either. You know, it's one of them things. But yeah, we've got loads of ideas what we want to do with the existing projects. But the main thing, finishing them. That's what I want to do. Finish the projects. I know everybody says they never finish, but I do like to draw a line under things because it's never ending otherwise.
Amarok.
Yeah.
That's just exploded.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
Massive.
I think because of the V6s are 3 years old now as well, which we get a lot of brand new ones in, but a lot of 2 and 3 year old ones that are sort of out of warranty or just about to come out of warranty, and they're just like, what can I spend my money on? I don't want to buy a new one, I don't want to buy a new truck, I just want to jazz this one up a bit. And yeah, we're doing pretty good at them. And I like working on them. They're nice cars, they do the power.
What do they come standard?
You get a 205, 224,
Yeah.
258, is it? Yeah, 258. But they're all pretty much the same engine. So they're all 300 with a tune, 350 with a big turbo, 400 with a bigger turbo, and a few other bits. No, they're pretty good. Yeah, they're getting used. Like we get Toms in every now and again, which a lot of the guys spending the big money are looking after them, but they are using them. You know, they're towing big trailers, they're using them every day, so they're not just trailer queens. So yeah, except Keith's. Keith just polishes his and looks at it because he's lowered it. He's made it impractical, but yeah, they are good.
On track?
Yeah, quite good on track as well. I was surprised. I was very surprised.
But it upset some folk when you're overtaking him, innit?
It got some funny looks, that is for sure. It got some funny looks, but yeah, it were good. It were really good, and I think customers appreciate that we'll look after stuff like that when it were crazy. And I hope they think that they probably think that we'd pay for it if we crash it, but I might just run off and say it to somebody else. I might just run off and say it with them.
Nice one. So what we got coming up?
Well, you said Amarok. We might have another Amarok that's something a bit different about it. It's on its way now from Australia, so we're just waiting.
What you've bought?
Yes. But I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm hoping I can get some things finished and get rid of before it comes. That's on its way, so we'll wait.
Watch this space.
Yes, I've not mentioned it to anybody else, so keep it a secret. You'll not tell anybody, will you?
No one. Lips are sealed.
Yeah, that's all right then. But yeah, when that's here, you can come down. I'll let you have the first drive outside of Darkside. How's that sound?
That sounds. I'll tell you what, I'll be honoured, mate. Honestly, we were talking about this, weren't we?
Yeah. We're on about track days as well. If next time we're on a track day, you need to come down, and I don't know if I'll let you drive out. Depends what I take, but I'll definitely show you where to go anyway. But we'll.
Oh, mate, that'd be awesome. Appreciate that.
It might get a bit expensive because you'll want to do it more, but the,
yeah. Well, like I said, like I think we were on about it earlier. No one could see this year turning out the way it did.
No.
For us, Van were born, it were always there in the back of his mind to do, so it just sort of enabled that. So we probably, you guys have been really busy as well. Things have turned out the way they have, and I think for us, it gives us time to reflect and sort of reset being off and look at why we're doing it and what we're doing wrong, why we're working stupid hours and the rest of it. So anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll shift this on a bit. Quick few questions for you. Dream car or dream van or truck for you? What's your money no object? What would you have?
I always said I wanted a Lamborghini till I drove one, and it just felt like a Volkswagen. I drove a Huracan Papamonte, and I just thought I felt faster cars, so I weren't that bothered. I don't know. I'd like standard car. It probably still is a Lamborghini or something like that, but whether I'm not a show off, so I probably won't.
Audi RS, I don't like that.
I'm not bothered about them. I've drove them all. I'm not bothered about them.
Yeah.
I think point and squirt A to B for all your crapping. Yeah, they are good, but now I've drove them. I don't know, Ray. Dream car. Money no object to probably be like a Bugatti or something like that. You know, something maybe even more exquisite. You know, like a Pagani. Something like everything's custom. Everything's one off. Everything. Yeah. It's probably impractical in any way, but yeah.
No.
Brake horsepower or torque? I know what you're gonna say.
It's all about the torque, innit? But
It is.
I've drove a few Honda VTECs, and it's definitely addictive in that VTEC and screaming the nads off. It's just when you get into a bit of a tizzy and you're in wrong gear, it's all over. Whereas in a diesel, it's not end of world. So yeah, torque all the way. Definitely for road, and lazy track driving. Yeah, definitely.
Favourite YouTube channel?
I don't watch tons of stuff on YouTube. I just watch random stuff and random engineering stuff. I like just daft stuff sometimes. There's a guy, I don't know if anybody, AVE, he does all daft videos. He's Canadian, and he just talks absolute rubbish, and he's quite funny. But he's teaching you stuff while he's doing it. He swears a lot, so don't put it on when your kids are there. But yeah, it's yeah.
Last one. Favourite film or program? What's it got to be, Ryan?
Favourite film? Depends who you're watching it with. Any at Tarantino's you can watch 20 times, I believe, can't you? So I think any of them probably, I don't know. Pulp Fiction's like the original dark version, innit? I don't know. But yeah, if you want to just watch something stupid, you have to watch a Wayans Brothers film, don't you? Just to laugh at it. But yeah.
So rounding everything up, what would you like to get out of this year if you could?
An holiday would be nice, but I'm dragging 2 kids around on an aeroplane is not the best thing in the world anyway, so I'm not really fussed. But yeah, just a bit of normality would be good. Whether that what your normality is, I don't know. But this year, business-wise, more of the same. Happy with what we're doing. We've took a few more staff on. Busier than ever. Enjoying it a bit more than ever. Like to get a bit more racing in. Like to get a bit more off-roading in. And the next step for me to enjoy things a bit more personally will be get a competent workshop manager in, because we've not got one at the minute. We haven't had one for a while, so it's been a role I've been trying to share, and on my days off turns into a nightmare. So yeah, workshop manager. So there's a few people applied. I've got a few people to interview next week and see, but I'm happy to let go of the responsibility. It just not at the expense of quality. So need to be careful with that one.
It's a fine line.
See, I think that's the one, because I always said I wanted to get, when I first started the business, the goal was I don't want to make a load of money out of it. I just want to be comfortable that when I'm 30, I'm not having to work 6 days a week, 10 and 12 hours a day for definite. You know, I can choose to if I want to. There could be work there to do it, and that's what I didn't want to have to work that amount.
There always is if you.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to work 4 or 5 days for definite, and maybe choose to do less if I could and spend a bit more time. Especially when kids are at home all the time, I'd like to. So yeah, a bit more work-life balance rather than work and play balance. You know what I mean? When my missus comes down and I'm working on a car that we're going racing on, she don't think that's work. So I've got to be careful with that one. It ain't about being all over the world and doing all crazy things and wasting money. It's about spending time wisely in it, and I think that's. You can't buy time. No matter how much money you've got, you can't buy time, can you? So
life is short, and it's about spending. Making that time right with being with your family and your kids, and making memories and looking after each other.
Yeah, and spending 2 hours watching me and you talk absolute rubbish. As long as we've got you to this point, it doesn't matter now. You've wasted 2 hours. Unlucky.
Is that you want to add on to anything, or is that what I've missed?
No, I appreciate you inviting us on. Obviously, being number one, it could have gone one or two ways. I think you've handled me all right. You've interrupted when I needed interrupting, and kept us steered that right path. I think it's been more positive than it could have been. It could have been a lot more. It could have been a lot more negative if I'd have been left to my own devices. But yeah, it's. Really appreciate it, and I think the main thing, thank you to everybody that helps us be where we are. That's suppliers, my girlfriend, the kids, all the lads at work. We are everybody. We won't be where we are, and I won't be here talking to you and anybody be watching this. So appreciate it. Everybody that watches the videos and comments, even if you're telling me I look a dick, then whatever. You know what I mean? You're still watching, so thank you for being here. But yeah, it's a joint effort from everybody, and everybody allowing it to happen. You know what I mean? We are customers and fans, and we've got a lot of fans that do our bidding for us. You know what I mean? People like yourself who want people to do well, and I think that's how everybody should be. Especially in these times, everybody needs to be happy that everybody's doing well. And if you're not doing well, give people a leg up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, and. Good on you for that. And like I said, I don't know if speaking to Rob and some of your other staff, I think you've got a great team down. I know you've got a great team down there, and you can see that.
Yeah, we definitely have. I can't spend 2 hours talking here and not be bothered every 2 seconds if people don't get on with their own stuff and do it and take ownership, and that's where we've been blessed with that, and I think it's a testament to people in general. There's a lot of people lose faith very early on in business and in whatever they're pursuing just because people push back, and it's what happens. But
Yeah. Keep plugging away.
yeah, exactly. Same to you as
Keep
well.
going.
So keep doing it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thanks for coming on and joining us.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to pop down and see you anyway. I've got a few bits for you as well.
Yeah, nice one. Well, we'll get on some track days soon.
Lovely. Right. Thanks, Ryan.
See you later.
Lovely. Thank you. See you later.
See you in a bit. Ta-ra, mate.
Bye bye.